If you've been feeling this overwhelming, heavy sense of mental fatigue lately, that deep, systemic exhaustion that just seems to shadow your every single move, I want you to know you're definitely not alone. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to explore a revolutionary, completely science-backed approach to reclaiming your mental clarity. And spoiler alert, we're not going to do it by looking at your brain, but by looking deep within your biology.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever wondered why, after a full weekend of resting, you still wake up with that thick, unyielding brain fog? Or why chronic stress feels completely impossible to just sleep off? I really want to validate exactly what you're experiencing right now. This exhaustion, this total lack of motivation, it isn't a character flaw. It's not a lack of discipline, and it is absolutely not just a mindset issue that you can simply positive think your way out of.
The exhaustion you're feeling is a very real biological reality. Modern neuroscience is actually showing us that burnout is a measurable metabolic state. It's intimately tied to systemic inflammation running through your entire body. But if the problem isn't actually originating in your mind, where exactly is this inflammatory, exhaustion-inducing state coming from? Well, to solve this mystery, we have to look roughly 2 feet below your head.
Section 1. Meet your second brain.
To meet the hidden culprit behind your cognitive fatigue, I want you to think of your gut not just as a digestive tube, but as a lush, living ecosystem. Embedded directly within the tissue walls of your gastrointestinal tract is the enteric nervous system, or the ENS. This is an incredibly sophisticated neural network that completely governs your gut. It's so advanced, so chemically diverse, and operates with such a high level of functional autonomy that scientists actually refer to it as our evolutionary second brain.
To really put that complexity into perspective, there are up to 500 million neurons operating right now inside your gut. That makes it the most complex and vast neural network anywhere in your body outside of the brain itself. These neurons are constantly sensing, processing, and reacting to your internal environment, and they're doing it entirely without any input from your conscious mind.
And this brilliantly illustrates the physical connection between these two brains. Meet the vagus nerve. You can think of it like a high-speed bidirectional fiber optic cable. It transmits physiological data between the enteric nervous system and your gut directly to your central nervous system. It's carrying vital, real-time information about systemic inflammation, nutrient status, and microbial health straight up to the brain, which directly influences how you feel, how you think, and how you perform.
Section 2. The neurotransmitter factory. The connection between these brains isn't just physical, though. It's a massive chemical manufacturing plant. Consider this for a second. 90%. That is the amount of your body's total serotonin that's synthesized right there in your gut, mostly by specialized cells called enterochromaffin cells. Serotonin is that absolutely crucial neurotransmitter that regulates your mood, your ability to learn, your memory, and importantly, the quality of your sleep, and almost all of it originates in your digestive tract. But wait, it doesn't stop there. 50% of your body's dopamine is also synthesized in the gastrointestinal tract. Dopamine is essentially the molecule of motivation, drive, and your brain's reward pathways. So, if you're experiencing a severe lack of motivation or drive, the root cause might actually be a disruption in your gut's ability to produce this vital neurochemical. And perhaps most incredibly, your gut microbes directly synthesize GABA. Now, GABA is the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter. Think of it as the brake pedal that calms your nervous system. These microscopic chemical factories in your gut produce GABA, which then modulates the amygdala, which is the fear and anxiety center of your brain. So it begs the question, what happens to your mental state when this delicate, highly tuned manufacturing system begins to break down?
Section 3. When the axis breaks. Now, what's really interesting here is the clear biological contrast between resilience and burnout. When we're exposed to relentless, modern-day stressors, our bodies just become overloaded with cortisol. A regulated nervous system boasts a strong gut barrier, healthy vagus nerve communication, and high levels of calming GABA. But a dysregulated system? That's marked by high cortisol, a compromised gut barrier, and widespread systemic neuroinflammation. That right there is the biological fingerprint of burnout. And here is the vicious cycle that traps so many of us in a state of sheer exhaustion. It starts with the HPA axis in the brain overactivating and flooding the body with the stress hormone cortisol. That cortisol actually disrupts your gut microbiome, which leads to intestinal permeability, something you've probably heard called leaky gut. When that barrier is compromised, bacterial toxins called liposaccharides, or LPS, escape into your bloodstream.
This triggers a massive systemic inflammatory response that travels right up to your brain, causing neuroinflammation. This is the literal biological mechanism behind your brain fog.
And the stakes for our longevity here are profound. Recent studies show that specific signature changes in the gut microbiome can actually predict the risk of Parkinson's disease years before clinical symptoms even appear. Researchers believe that a protein called alpha-synuclein, triggered by gut inflammation, can literally travel up the vagus nerve from the gut into the brain, damaging neurons along the way. So our daily lifestyle habits are fundamentally tied to protecting this exact pathway.
Section 4. The Rise of Psychobiotics.
But hey, the narrative doesn't end with vulnerability, right? It ends with a really empowering solution: psychobiotics. These are targeted microbiome interventions, specific, heavily researched bacterial strains that can actually modulate your psychological health, lower your anxiety, and rebuild your emotional resilience by leveraging the gut-brain axis. It is essentially hacking your mental health from the bottom up.
Let's actually look at the clinical data behind these microscopic allies. In university students facing chronic exam stress, taking the strain Bifidobacterium longum significantly improved both their sleep quality and duration. Lactobacillus plantarum has been clinically shown to alleviate anxiety while physically strengthening that crucial gut barrier. And remarkably, clinical nurses working in highly stressful environments who took heat-killed Lactobacillus paracasi saw a measurable reduction in circulating cortisol levels in their blood. These microbes literally intercept stress signals.
So the crucial point here is that psychobiotics aren't just a placebo, they operate on hard biological mechanisms. They actively enhance the production of serotonin and GABA in your gut. They restore the integrity of the gut barrier to block inflammatory toxins from ever reaching your blood. And by doing so, they lower inflammatory microglial activation in the brain, recalibrate your stress response, and can even improve sustained attention. It is an incredibly powerful bottom-up approach to regulating your mind.
Section 5. Rewiring for Resilience.
Now that we understand the mechanics of how this works, let's look at how this builds into a cohesive biological sequence for healing. Step 1 is repairing that physical gut barrier to halt the systemic inflammation right at the source. Step 2 is actively populating that newly repaired ecosystem with beneficial, neuroactive psychobiotic strains. And step 3 is restoring the healthy, calming tone of the vagus nerve to signal safety back up to your brain.
Delivering on that sequence requires some actionable protocols. Stanford researchers have shown that simply incorporating fermented foods and increasing dietary fiber can drastically increase microbiome diversity and lower inflammation. Adding omega-3 fatty acids helps cool that neuroinflammation down. You might also consider specific targeted psychobiotic strains like Bifidobacterium. And never underestimate your foundational habits. Prioritizing high-quality sleep and engaging in physical exercise literally enriches the metabolic pathways of your microbiome. Changing your lifestyle changes your brain chemistry. It's that simple.
As Christoph Feizas, a prominent researcher at Stanford Medicine, explains regarding the signals sent from the gut, these molecules are extremely important for the brain to make sense of what's going on inside the body and then regulate physiological states accordingly. Your brain is quite literally listening to your gut to decide if you are safe or if you're in danger.
Which leaves us with this final, really important thought. You hold the power to influence this incredible internal ecosystem at every single meal, with every hour of sleep, and with every walk you take. If healing your mind, restoring your focus, and finding your resilience truly starts with healing your gut, what are you going to feed your second brain today?